Harvey Leach, Louis Bouvet, Stuart Dare, Frank Melrose, Billy Quillins, Ray Malzora, Zampi, Charles Raymond, Tom Jacobson, Jules Keller, Conway and Lane, The Merry Monopedes, Jimmy Sheards, Manning and Louis de Croix, Crip Hurd, Senior Donato, Nimblejack Joyce, The Beastries, The Donatos, The Flying Xenos, Major Tom Lord, Signet Ernie, Tom Harper, Eli Bowen, Johnny Eck, Paul Stevens.
Go! Blimey, I'm going to get you guys to come and clean my garden. Pretty well, the books that I find connecting disability and circus together tend to be about freak shows.
Freak shows.
Page 20 of this book was really important to me. It's a guy called Frank Melrose. I'd had this book for a number of years and I was interested in something or other. I was interested in aerial history, I was interested in aerial choreography. I had read it so many times and for some reason page 20 hadn't made any significant impact on me at that time. When I reread it and when I was really focusing on disability and aerial performance, I happened to go through it again and I'm like going, how come I never registered that page with this photograph of a guy in the late 19th century who was a professional gymnast, who was a one-legged man. And suddenly that set me out on this journey going, if there is one guy who has a professional photograph saying that he's a professional trapeze artist, in my view, there had to be more.
In 1871, William W. Quillins presented a private performance on the trapeze at Richmond, Virginia. The unusual feature of this act was that Quillins had lost both legs in an accident a few years earlier. In 1877, another performer, named Frank Melrose, performing at the Boylston Museum in Boston, was said to be a one-legged trapeze performer. Jules Keller, the gentleman who walks around on his hands in order to be thought singular. He certainly is a masterpiece in his way, and some of his high jumps are really astonishing. One of his feats is to support himself on a horizontal bar with one hand, while he uses the other to take a glass of water to his lips. The audience were a good deal impressed with the first part of the trick, but when they were confronted with the astonishing spectacle of a man actually drinking water, they recognised the supreme courage of the feat and cheered the heroic performer again and again. There's the phenomenon Jules Keller, whom nature has put on hands instead of feet, is a phenomenon indeed, but an uncomfortable one, more suited to a museum than a theatre. It was the one-legged man who devised a new set of movements, a new set of acrobatic manoeuvres, which then eventually found their way into the non-disabled choreography. I bet many people today would think that they originated as non-disabled tricks. There's no victimhood in any of the images or any of the depictions that I found, particularly of the amputees, but actually of the performers. There's no sense of poor me going on, which I find really interesting. Why is nobody mentioned in any of these books? These guys were top bill. You know, Zampi. Yeah. Where's Zampi?
Top of the bill.
Yeah.
Big as you like.
Don't know if you can read it.
I'm a freak.
I'm a freak. I'm a freak. Unique.
Unique.
I'm a freak. Nice.
That's very clever. That's what I thought.
That's what she said.
And that's what Jenny said as well.
So in terms of the questions for the disabled artists then, who were they pre-20th century? Who have we chosen? What are their stories? What did they do physically? What are the skills that they had? How did they present them? What were the tricks, if you like, that they did? Why have they been lost from circus histories? So why is it that none of these books, other than one, even mentions really somebody that some of my other documents tell me that they exist? And then finally, how can we best share their stories? Is there something worthwhile to tell? And if there is, how do we go about telling those stories?
My legs have actually felt like prosthetics, like part of me that it's felt like it shouldn't be part of me, almost that they're kind of wrong, they shouldn't be there, because the last 2 days I felt so free without them on the hoop, and it's been quite a new experience for me to want to actually take my legs off and get back on the hoop. It's very, very different. It's almost alien to me to want to do stuff without my legs on. Signor Herveo Nano. Human fly. Almain, king of the gnomes. He had the body of a normal man, big and strong, legs of a dwarf, a midget, or a freak.
Spare my life, O God, and I obey. Her name is Jane Soane, and she is the living mermaid. No spinal column. I always grip with my right hand first and hook my right leg. I bend my left leg to get onto the trapeze. She was a prisoner within herself. I sometimes hook my left arm. She was beautiful from her head to her very fishy tail. I step on my right leg and I use my neck for support into standing. I use my teeth. She gave way under cruel treatment. I placed my hand by my left hip to get into front balance, and I turned to my right to come out of it. She was a pleasure to the senses. My name is Tiiu Mortley, and I am
Milton Bouvet was on the top of the bill. He was known as the one-armed wonder. He performed in the main tent.
He performed in the main tent.
There was another space where disabled men and women were displayed as art curiosities. For 1 coin, you could see 10 of them, one after the other. But they didn't do anything much. They would just sit there smoking a cigarette or having a cup of tea. They called it the freak show.
He wasn't displayed like the others. The freaks.
Wasn't he one of them, though? He was the one-armed wonder, the fabulous acrobat, the gymnast who toured the world. Everybody wanted to see him. And he toured with such success for 10 years. Then his mother died, and he was forced to leave the circus. His father had died a few years earlier, and as an only child, he had to go back to take care of all that stuff that people, when they die, leave behind. The house, the land. He needed to take care of everything. And he knew it would take him a few months. So his circus life had to wait. Of course, he could go back to it at any time. After all, he was the one-armed acrobat. But then the war came, and he had to wait for it to end. He waited for 5 long years. When the war ended, he decided to go back to circus life. He was still as fit and capable as he had ever been. So he decided to present himself to Circle Montebo. He met the man responsible for hiring the artists, who scanned his CV in a matter of seconds.
I'm afraid we do not have a place for you because we do not do freak shows.
I'm sorry?
People are not interested in freak shows anymore. They want to see proper circus acts.
But I can do proper circus acts. I can head balance. I can balance with my one arm in a stack of 34 chairs.
Yes, I have no doubt you can do that, but people will not be interested in seeing that. They want to see proper bodies doing extraordinary stuff. It's just going to be really hard to sell your act.
No, you don't understand. I am Milton Bouvet. I am the one-armed wonder. People used to travel from very far away to see me perform.
Yes, because they had never seen someone performing acrobatics with one arm before. During the war, troops of legless and armless gymnasts were formed, and they were popular for a year or two. The audience loved them. They felt compelled to watch them because they had sacrificed themselves for our sake. But the war is over and people want to get back to normality. It just feels disrespectful to exhibit war victims doing tricks to amuse the rest of us. An act like yours is an insult to everyone. Have a pleasant day, sir.
But I am...
Whatever happens, this information you have to make available in some way for other people. You know, just a document, because you've had to go searching high and low for all this information, and it's insane that it's not, someone hasn't done it before. You need to be that person, I know that much. whether it's anything to do with us or performing or anything, is irrelevant. That information has to be there for other people to learn and be inspired by and move forward with. And then for more material to come from other great artists developing and realising they can do it. It's bonkers that it doesn't already.